Get ready for some serious aviation fails. We've got a huge lineup today, from planes and helicopters to blimps and more. We'll explore the crazy world of early flying machines, from explosive crashes to seriously flawed designs that just didn't fly. We're counting down the top 15 most epic failures in aviation history. So buckle up and let's start our journey at number 15 with Jean-Francois Pilote de Roisier, a pioneer who might not have been able to conquer the skies, but definitely left his mark on the world of flight. Let's dive deeper into our aviation failures countdown. Our 15th spot takes a surprising turn with Jean-Francois Pilote de Roisier, who defied gravity as the first person to make a manned free balloon flight. That's right, way before hot air balloons became a thing for festivals. But his next adventure didn't go so smoothly. On a bid to cross the English Channel in 1875, this chemist and teacher's ambitious attempt ended in tragedy when strong winds sent him and his partner hurtling back 5 kilometers, causing their balloon to catch fire and crash, making them the unfortunate first human fatalities of flight. And now on to number 14, where we've got a fascinating myth that might just make it into our top fails. In ancient times, around 850 BC, King Bleded allegedly took to the skies in a bid to become an air legend. But did this incredible story actually happen, or is it purely mythical? Stay tuned as we dig deeper into the legend of King Bleded and find out if this was truly the world's first flight attempt. Now we're off to ancient England for a tale that's equal parts intriguing and tragic. In the annals of history, King Bleded's name might be linked to the lovely city of Bath, but it's his alleged attempt at flight that makes him our next aviation failure superstar. This prince with a flair for drama supposedly used his interest in dark magic or necromancy to fuel his quest for airborne stardom. He crafted wings from feathers, a DIY project that would make even the most adventurous maker blush, and launched himself from the Temple of Apollo, an epic spot if we've ever seen one. But as we often learn the hard way, dark magic just isn't enough to defy gravity. King Bleded's attempt at flight ended in heartbreak when he plummeted to his death, serving as a poignant reminder that no amount of magic can replace the laws of physics. Get ready for a tale of old-world chutzpah. Meet the Marquis de Bacqueville, an 18th century French noblesse with a dream as big as his mustache, literally flying across the Seine River in the heart of Paris. Born in Rouen in 1688, this trailblazing eccentric didn't let age get in the way of innovation when he decided to take to the skies at 54. Bacqueville's ingenious design featured flapping paddles on his arms for liftoff and gliding paddles on his feet to guide him gently across the water, a true prototype of sorts. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's just plain crazy. But here's where things get exciting when our fearless Marquis leaped from the rooftop at 27 Rue de Saint-Paris. He did something truly remarkable. He caught an unexpected breeze and began to glide, leaving all onlookers in awe. Who knows what could have been if this adventurous Frenchman had a few more seconds of lift or some better wind conditions. History might have seen Bacqueville as the world's first successful wing-suited flyer, but unfortunately for him, that wasn't meant to be. But hold on to your top hats. Folks, Bacqueville's attempt at flight didn't end quite as smoothly as his glide across the Seine. Just seconds of airborne glory were all he got before crashing into a washerwoman's barge with a resounding thud, and a broken leg to show for it. As you can imagine, this mishap turned our Marquis from hero to laughingstock amongst the French nobility, becoming the stuff of jokes and gossip circles. It seems that the ridicule was more than enough to deter Bacqueville from ever taking another leap of faith into the sky. Who knows how history might have been different if he'd given it another go. But on to our next tale of flying ambition. Meet Alexander Graham Bell, a name you might recognize as the father of the telephone. You see, this Scottish-born genius didn't stop at revolutionizing communication. No, Bell had his sights set on soaring to new heights, literally. In 1899, he tackled one of aviation's biggest challenges: how to balance lift generating surface area with weight, keeping a flying machine airborne without becoming too cumbersome. Now let's take off with Alexander Graham Bell, the man who made talking long distance a reality. But did you know he also had his hands full with a very different kind of innovation? Years in the making, Bell created an awe-inspiring flying machine called the Cygnet Awai, a behemoth of a kite sporting a massive 13-meter wingspan and no less than 300 tetrahedral cells that formed a wall-like wing. But here's the coolest part. To give it some oomph, he rigged it up with an engine and towed it into the air behind a motorboat. And, man, did it take to the skies. This flying marvel reached a whopping 51 meters high before its maiden voyage came to an abrupt end in the water below as it crashed and burned, leaving it beyond repair. Although this experiment proved that carrying a person aloft was possible, controlling such a beastly creation just wasn't feasible, and unfortunately, Bell's flying dream never took flight again. Buckle up, folks. We're about to take a wild ride through history. Now, some say that humans took to the skies way back in 1,500 years ago. But let's focus on the first recorded human flight attempt made by Al-Jahari, an epic Turkish linguistics scholar from Farab. This daring guy climbed up a massive mosque in Nisabur, strapped 2 bits of wood onto his arms, and shouted to the crowd below, "Hey everyone, nobody's flown before, but I'm about to defy gravity right here, right now. The most important thing is to soar through the skies." Yeah, it didn't quite play out that way. After jumping off, Al-Jahari face planted straight into the ground and sadly lost his life in the attempt. Still, we've got to give him credit for being the first recorded daredevil who dared to dream big-o. Even if gravity had other plans, you've got to love the mystery surrounding Al-Jahari. Was he crazy or a genius? Some folks think he had a few screws loose, while others believe he just had a foul fascination with being a bird. But most accounts say our hero was totally level-headed, even if his flying skills weren't quite there yet. Unfortunately, we'll never know for sure what was going on in that brilliant brain of his. Alright, let's move on to the next record breaker. Number 10. Besniet, the locksmith with a secret passion for flight. The dream of flying, oh, it's something we've all thought about at some point. But for Besniet, a talented locksmith from Saba, France, this fantasy took flight in the late 1600s. By 1678, he'd created an impressive prototype that was straight out of his imagination. Inspired by birds, Besniet's flying machine had 2 wooden rods with fabric flaps called taffeta that would fan out to catch the breeze. Simple yet intriguing. This contraption allowed him to strap it on and, in theory, jump from buildings. Oh, who needs a ramp when you've got wings attached to your feet and shoulders? Unfortunately, Besniet's invention didn't quite get off the ground, but we love his determination and creativity. So, what happened when Besniet put his invention to the test? Sadly, it didn't quite live up to its winged potential. Instead of flapping like a bird, the device had him jumping off a second-story roof and gliding for short distances. We're talking more Superman than Icarus. After a brief moment in the spotlight, Besniet sold his creation to a traveling performer, and it seems that's where the trail ends. No copies remain, so we can't say for sure how well it performed. But one thing's for sure. This wasn't the first, nor would it be the last, attempt to defy gravity. Get ready to take flight into the fascinating world of Leonardo da Vinci. This Renaissance mastermind spent decades studying how humans could conquer the skies. He created an astonishing 500-plus sketches detailing his theories on human flight. From these blueprints, he designed the ornithopter, a machine inspired by the flapping wings of birds. Da Vinci envisioned it as a way for people to soar through the air by simply flapping its wings. But there's one tiny issue. our muscles just aren't strong enough or long-lasting enough to flap those wings like birds do. Plus, adding in the weight of a human would have made it virtually impossible to get off the ground. Despite this, Da Vinci never gave up on his dream. He built the ornithopter with the hope that the Milanese could use it for aerial espionage. But unfortunately, it didn't take flight at all, and we mean that literally. Buckle up and get ready for a thrilling tale of adventure. Meet the Bremen, an airplane that took off from Ireland on April 12, 1928, with a mission to cross the Atlantic Ocean. Although it didn't quite make it to its destination, this daring flight was still a huge success. Kind of. After a harrowing journey, the Bremen landed safely in Canada's Greely Island the very next day. But things didn't go smoothly from the start. The crew of brave aviators Gunter von Hu Tefeld, James Fitzmaurice, and Herman Cole faced a nightmare flight due to some serious technical issues and bad weather. First off, their trusty magnetic compass stopped working when the instrument panel lights failed. Yikes. Hold on tight for a gripping story that's full of twists and turns. The Bremen's epic transatlantic journey was far from smooth sailing, literally. With no radio on board to receive crucial warnings, the fearless crew of Gunter von Hu Tefeld, James Fitzmaurice, and Herman Cole braved treacherous conditions, a blizzard that revealed a shocking leak in their oil line. After an agonizing 30-plus hours, they were running low on fuel and totally lost. But just when things seemed dire, the crew spotted what they thought was a ship stuck in ice. Little did they know it was actually Greely Island in Canada, thousands of miles off track from their New York destination. Despite the massive detour, these daring aviators still managed to capture hearts as heroes when they touched down in New York. Even though they didn't quite reach their goal, this incredible flight is a testament to their bravery and skill. Get ready to meet the trailblazing Otto Lilienthal, aka the Flying Man. Before Charles Lindbergh soared to fame, Lilienthal was the German daredevil taking to the skies. This aviation pioneer studied nature's secrets, like a white stork's wingspan, and created his own glider prototype in 1891. Imagine the excitement when he took it for its maiden flight and nailed it. His design was so on point that he went on to make an astonishing 2,000 successful flights by launching from hills and other elevated spots. In 1893, Lilienthal shattered a distance record by flying an incredible 250 meters. Talk about winging it. This remarkable achievement made him incredibly confident in his flying skills. But Lilienthal's story takes a heartbreaking turn in 1896 when he suffered a devastating crash during an attempt to beat his own distance record. As he soared through the air, disaster struck. His glider suddenly pitched forward and plummeted downwards, throwing him into a desperate struggle to regain control. Unfortunately, weight shifting, which had worked wonders before, proved impossible while staring straight at the ground. Lilienthal's heroic efforts ultimately failed, and he landed with a fatal impact, breaking his neck in the 15-meter fall. Tragically, just one day later, this aviation trailblazer would lose his life in hospital, leaving behind an incredible legacy that paved the way for generations of brave flyers to come. Meet Aurel Vlaicu, a Romanian aviation genius who defied gravity with his homemade flying machines. As a university student in Munich, this curious mind was hooked on flight from an early age. With nothing but imagination and makeshift materials like wood, paper, and rubber bands, he started sketching out his own aircraft designs. But it wasn't until the Romanian government backed him financially that Aurel's passion project took off. In 1910, he built a flying machine that actually worked, dubbed Aurel Vlaicu No. 1. This was just the beginning. He went on to create an impressive fleet, with No. 2 and No. 3 soon joining his aviation family. But Aurel Vlaicu's remarkable journey came to a tragic end in 1913. Undeterred by previous challenges, he set his sights on an incredible feat, becoming the first person to fly over the majestic Carpathian Mountains with his trusty No. 2 aircraft. During a practice flight, disaster struck as the plane landed awkwardly and sadly. Aurel didn't survive the impact. Speculation swirled that sabotage might have played a role, but experts believe the more likely culprit was an unfortunate stall. At the time, planes relied on engine power for landing, which, while safer, made it tough to adjust course if something went awry, and in this case, it proved fatal. But Aurel Vlaicu's impact doesn't end there. Before he took to the skies, a different kind of pioneer changed aviation history forever. Meet the hot air balloon, a game-changing flying machine that paved the way for modern flight. So while it might seem simple compared to airplanes, this invention was revolutionary in its time, making its first appearance over 100 years before the Wright brothers' famous flight. On September 19, 1783, French brothers Joseph and Jacques Montgolfier sent their creation, l'Aviation, soaring into the air above Annonay, France. And guess what? It was an experiment that would set the stage for generations of innovators to come, including Aurel Vlaicu himself. Now, let's talk about l'Aviation, that trailblazing hot air balloon. Built with cotton canvas and paper, it was quite different from your average party balloon. Instead of humans, this brave trio, a sheep, a duck, and a dapper cockerel, got to be the first living creatures to experience flight on October 19, 1783. King Louis XVI was watching live as they reached an astonishing 600 meters high. The ride lasted about 3.5 kilometers before the balloon ripped, but the unlikely heroes safely landed in a nearby wood. As a huge thank you, they were welcomed into the prestigious menagerie in Versailles by none other than Louis XVI himself. Talk about going from zero to hero. Although it wasn't perfect, l'Aviation proved that flight was possible and opened doors for more exciting adventures to come. Now meet Clement Ader, an unsung hero with a knack for innovation. You might not know his name, but he's got a claim to fame, taking Alexander Graham Bell's telephone to the next level and inventing the world's first stereo sound system. But there's more. Ader had his eyes on the skies too. His flying journey kicked off in 1890 with the Ader Ole, an early prototype that looked like a giant bat, stretching about 14 meters wide. It relied on a steam engine to spin one propeller at the front, but this bird wasn't meant to fly high. The aircraft was super heavy and struggled to lift off the ground, and the lack of directional controls made it impossible for the pilot to steer. Talk about a bumpy ride. Despite its failure to take to the skies, it only managed 20 centimeters in the air for about 50 meters. Ader's avian author caught the attention of the French Minister of War, who saw some potential and greenlit further development. Next up is Clement Ader's Avian III, an aircraft with a bat-inspired design that got even more upgrades in 1897. This model boasted a massive wingspan of 15 meters, a basic rudder for steering, and 2 propellers, each powered by a steam engine. With all these changes, it was time to put the Avian III to the test, but things didn't go as planned. A gust of wind threw off its trajectory, causing the entire machine to crash before it even took flight. The French Ministry of War lost interest and pulled their funding, bringing this ambitious project to an abrupt end. Let's talk about Hiram Maxim's test rig, also known as the Maxim Flyer. Did you know that behind this massive flying machine was the genius inventor of the world's first self-powered, recoil-operated machine gun? With its commercial success, Maxim decided to invest in another groundbreaking project, human flight. Imagine a beast with 6 layers of wings, stretching 34 meters wide, powered by 2 steam engines and 2 super long propellers. This wasn't meant to fly freely into the air. Instead, it was designed to be locked onto a 550-meter track to test wing shapes and lift. But in 1894, during its third run on this track, something unexpected happened. While Maxim and 3 others were on board, the 3,100-kilogram device broke free from its restraints and took off for an astonishing 180 meters at 60 kilometers per hour, just a few feet above the ground. Now let's shift our focus across the pond to Samuel Langley's aerodrome project in the United States. Imagine a gasoline-powered flying machine that needed a catapult launch before its engine roared to life, propelling it through the air. That was Langley's vision. In 1896, an unmanned model of his aerodrome took to the skies not once but twice, showcasing some serious promise by reaching distances of 700 and 1,000 meters in calm conditions. But despite these early successes, Langley's dream of sustained flight would remain just that, a dream, as his later attempts with manned versions of the aerodrome ended in failure. Langley's unmanned model flew an astonishing distance, 10 times further than any previous attempt by a heavier-than-air machine. This impressive feat caught the attention of the U.S. Army, which invested thousands in Langley's project. 2 years later, his 1/4 scale prototype successfully took flight with a human on board, powered by a 53-horsepower engine. That's 4 times more powerful than what the Wright brothers would later use to revolutionize aviation. However, as exciting as this was, there was a major catch. Langley's aircraft had almost no control system whatsoever, setting it up for disaster. Langley's high-powered aircraft sounded like a game-changer, but it had one major flaw: zero control system. This, paired with the intense stress from its catapult launches, led to 2 failed manned flights where the aerodrome simply collapsed mid-air. Don't blame the launcher, though. It was clear that this design would have been a safety disaster if pushed any further. On another note, history's got a cool photo to share. The artificial albatross, an early glider, made headlines as the world's first photographed flying machine. Check out Lebres in his pilot's seat, chillin' on a wooden cart before takeoff. It's a blast from the past. Let's set sail back in time to meet Alphonse Piednod aka Lebres, a French sailor who became an aviation pioneer. Inspired by the majestic flight patterns of albatrosses while sailing around the world, Lebres discovered the magic of lift, the force that keeps objects flying against gravity. He applied this concept to his first artificial albatross prototype in 1856, designing it to mimic the proportions of its bird inspiration. And guess what? This trailblazer managed an incredible feat. He soared to a height of 100 meters and flew 200 meters, making him the first ever pilot of a heavier-than aircraft that broke even ground. Although his triumph was short-lived, as he damaged his prized machine beyond repair, Lebres didn't give up. With the French Navy's support, he began working on an upgraded version of the artificial albatross, laying down the foundation for future aviation innovators. Fast forward to 1868 when Alphonse Piednod unveiled his upgraded creation, the Albatros Seco. This groundbreaking aircraft was captured in a historic photo that we're excited for you to see. With Piednod's innovative tweaks, including hand-operated levers and foot-operated pedals to adjust the wings and tail, he took to the skies with varying degrees of success. Although a rough landing left his trusty Albatros severely damaged, Piednod's daring